please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome, everybody.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Morning, Mr. Chair.
Everybody.
Could I get a motion to approve?
Second.
We got a motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussions? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none, could I get a motion for that?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
A motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries. Public health, public hearing.
Explain why we're here first.
We hear first, yep.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'm going to turn it over to Sarah for our changes to the tobacco ordinance before we open the public hearing.
Good morning.
Morning, sir.
So on May 25th, we brought our proposed revisions of the tobacco ordinance to a planning meeting. After that, we opened it up for public comment by posting in the paper on June 7th and June 14th. As of today, I haven't heard anything from the public or any of the commissioners in regards to any updates or changes to those proposed revisions. So hoping to move forward on the public hearing today.
That it? Okay, then the meeting will be called to order for the public hearing. The description of the issue, which you just said. The meeting is open. I don't know, do I need to read all this if we have no public here? Do we have anybody online?
I think we're just noting, Mr. Chair, that the public hearing is open now and you'll call for public comment 3 times.
Okay.
And then at conclusion of that, we would close the public hearing.
Okay, is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? Is there any public comment? There's nobody on virtual, right?
I believe nobody is on the virtual meeting to add comment, no.
Okay, was there any mail-in writing comments in for the record?
I received none.
None in public health either.
None.
Okay, then the public comment period is closed. Now we'll take action on this.
Make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Lemire, seconded by Commissioner Wincher. Is this a roll call by any chance?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? If none, this will be a roll call vote. Commissioner Jelinski.
Aye.
Commissioner Blaine. Commissioner Wilson, aye. Commissioner Lemire.
Aye.
Commissioner Wincher.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. We will work with IT and posting it on our website and under the ordinances now that it will be official July 1st. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Brian, for your work on this.
Yes. If we could change the.
Thanks for
agenda
coming,
around
Brian.
A little bit and maybe. if
Thanks, Brian. See you
You
later.
have a lot of stuff.
I have the
Me.
licenses. I could get Cindy down here if you'd like for the long-term care.
Well, I think, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair,
No,
just,
go ahead.
Sean's not quite here yet, that was super fast. So he'll be on his way, but maybe Brad could do the licenses, if you don't mind.
Nope,
You can do the public health report
okay.
portion of the board meeting if you.
Sounds good. We'll move up to public health report.
All right. Have to get to that page. So July 1st is upon us, and as a result, we have liquor licenses.
And those are the ones you handed out, correct?
There are also some in your board
Okay,
packet.
let me find those.
Yep. So we'll do the ones in the board packet first. Just have to get to,
So do I,
let's see, you can scroll faster.
yeah.
Are the ones that you handed out, are them extras then? Is that?
Yeah.
Yes, yep.
It would be before this, I think.
It is after the long-term care report.
12-Mile Tavern, all them, right?
Yep,
What page you're on, Randy?
page 52.
All right, thank you. I just found it.
So the first RBA is a list of all the intoxicating liquor license renewals that were submitted prior to providing the board packet to Tabitha. So I'd ask for motion to approve those liquor licenses.
So moved.
Second, you gotta go up, Deb.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Is there any further discussion? Randy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brad, on these liquor renewals, does anybody that we had last year that didn't renew, or is everybody renewing, if you know what I'm, that question?
I believe Cabin Fever has not renewed. Harding, I believe, establishment in Harding, if I recall correctly. Those two for sure, but I know Cabin Fever is working on a remodel, so there is a possibility they could reopen. I think those were the only two, but my memory is not as good as it should be.
And the
So,
reason I ask is
yeah.
just, due to 2020, if some of them, well, we're not gonna open
Yeah.
it all, but.
Mr. Chair, I think one in Harding changed ownership, so I think they're open and it's on the list,
Yes.
but it
Okay.
wasn't the same owner as before.
I was gonna say.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you.
So overall, they came through. I don't know how well they're doing, but they came through, and I think we did not lose really that many establishments, considering the stress they were under.
And to verify, these are just in the county, not in the city.
Correct.
limits.
Yep, for liquor licenses, it's just those outside of city limits that do not have a liquor license ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, do you want the motion to include these also?
I will do these separately, if I could.
Okay. I'll
Mr.
make a
Chair.
motion to approve
We,
these.
you already have, I think, haven't we?
Have we?
Yeah, we did
Okay.
first and second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And then there's one more in the board packet, which is an approval of a 2 AM liquor license for the 12 Mile Tavern, and it has approval by the sheriff.
Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Blaine, seconded by Commissioner Wincher. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
Thank you. And then before you, there are two RBAs that were not able to get put into the packet prior to sending you. The first one I will do is an intoxicating liquor license for the Boomerang Bar. Approval for that.
Can I get a
So
motion?
move, Mr. Chair.
Got a motion by Commissioner
Second.
Lemire, seconded by Commissioner Jelinski. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And then the second RBA in front of you on paper is a 232 liquor licenses, and they're actually for 2020 and 2021. There was an issue with their 2020 license, so we have to go back and approve both years. So then the state can submit their approval for these particular 3-2 licenses. So looking for both Augers Resort and Lincoln Gas and Bait for 2020, and a 2021 3-2 liquor license.
I'll make that motion for 20 and 21.
Got a motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion? None, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
That's all I have in the public health report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sheriff's report? Morning,
More
Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Morning, Sheriff.
Sheriff.
Everybody.
Let's see, we'll do this one, yes. So we'll be going over the May report, May monthly report. And as always, we kind of start off with a few photos just to highlight what we've done in the previous month. So we did Coffee with a Cop. It was at the Little Falls Ballroom. Probably had about 15 to 20 residents that showed up. Obviously, they were concerned what's going on in our community. They took part, asked a lot of questions, so it went well. We talked about substance use going on in our community. The chief of police was there as well, Greg Shermers. We also had Sheila Watercott, who is a youth substance use prevention coordinator, and her assistant, Anita Larson, was there as well. So just kind of, like I mentioned, talked about what's going on in our communities. We brought some evidence in where we could show residents what methamphetamine look like, what heroin looks like, what some of the drug paraphernalia looks like, just so everyone was kind of aware and what to look for and how they can be useful to us as law enforcement. The bottom picture is fingerprinting at Dr. S.G. Knight. So basically with COVID, our fingerprinting program kind of came to a halt SG Knight School reached out to us and asked if we would actually come in. And luckily, we had enough of these fingerprint cards to do that. So moving on later on, when kids come back to school, we're going to be a little bit behind because of COVID. So we're going to have to do first graders and kindergartners, but we actually got this off our list for Dr. SG Knight School.
Question now?
What's that?
Mr. Chair, I was just gonna say, Jordan Geisy over the weekend was
Oh.
so good. I have a colleague of mine in Isanti County, the administrator sent a message with a picture. A deputy stopped, over the weekend at a lemonade stand, and so you never know who you're gonna run into, and somebody in the business was just thrilled, and her kids and that group of kids were just thrilled at that interaction. They felt like just famous, she said. So I appreciate, the deputies taking the time for stuff like that, and you really never know who it is you're gonna run into, and then how far that appreciation goes, so
Yeah, I thought it was
kudos to
gonna-
Jordan.
No, it was good. I thought we were going to get a complaint because I heard he drank like 25 gallons. The next picture, we had the sandbox fill. And so that took place, Morrison County. We filled 39 sandboxes. We brought in 192 pounds of food. And that was part of the deal, where if we bring the sand, you just got to have some food for the food shelf, as well as cash donations. So we brought in some cash donations too. So this was, in order for this to work, we had to have our employees step up and kind of volunteer to do this role. And then Public Works let us use their vehicle as well, so that was good to do the deliveries. Next page will just highlight the training. We did, excuse me, we did handgun and rifle drills at various distances out at the Eastern Morrison County Sportsman's Club. And basically what we're doing is trying to prepare for our annual qualification shoot, which is gonna be coming up next month, which is mandatory through POST, and POST is our Peace Officer Standards and Training. If you look at our criminal complaints, we had 87, and I'll just kind of highlight what we saw the most of. We saw 7 assaults, that's in your 12 o'clock position. It's labeled 8%, it's the blue piece of pie up there. If you go down to the 5 o'clock position, it's the orange. We had 17 disturbing the peace complaints for the month of May. The 7 o'clock position, which is the green piece of pie, we had damage to property. We had 8 damage to property complaints. The 9 o'clock position, it's labeled 16%, it's the peach color, we had 14 thefts. And if we move on to our traffic citation ICRs, I took a look last year, we had 185 total traffic citations for the month of May. This year, you can see we have 285. I also looked at our previous month, last month being the previous time I presented, which would have been for April, we had 247. So we're seeing heavier traffic, and of course, that's what you're gonna see when summer comes. And our guys are out there busting their butts, so pretty happy with their performance there. Our 2-year comparison, you'll see total complaints went up. A lot of that is because of our self-initiated activity that they're doing on the road. Of course, the gun permits are still part of that as well. Across the board, pretty much everything has gone up. And that's because obviously we're not in the COVID timeframe as we were last year when we were here at this time. Moving on to our jail activity. You'll see that we averaged 31 inmates for Morrison County. We did have some inmates here for a small time frame from Itasca County as well as Beltrami County. Excuse me. Beltrami County's incident, basically the pipeline protest, Hubbard County had to clear out some of their inmates to make room, which means some of the inmates came to our county. So that's why you'll see Beltrami listed in there as well. Our overall population to include out-of-county inmates was 32 is what we averaged. Looking at our out-of-county inmates, just to highlight that, we had 4 for the month of May, and our revenue brought in was $2,145. Outside of that, our drug activity, the guys were busy. I can tell you, unfortunately, a lot of the activity is here locally, right in Little Falls. we do our best with our 2 investigators to get out in the county and do as much as we can, and we're busy with that. But as far as leads, information, search warrants, majority of our buys, we're right here in the city of Little Falls. It's occupying a lot of our time. So I'm just being upfront and letting the board know we spend a lot of time here. And unfortunately, we can't say, well, this is a city, we're gonna spend our time in the county. We have to take everything into consideration and tackle it that way. So with that, I'll open it up and if anyone has any questions.
Mr. Chair, if I may,
Commissioner Jelinski.
the truth of the matter is, Sheriff, as you very clearly know, Little Falls is Morrison County.
Yes.
It's part of Morrison County, no different than Swanville, Sobieski, Buckman, wherever it is. So it is what it is. If that's where the activity is, that's exactly where you're gonna have your people
Absolutely.
moving on. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Commissioner Wincher.
Yeah, Sheriff, when you, all this activity in the county, Little City, Little Falls, are these drugs or whatever being processed, made here? Or are they still coming out of the county and then they're distributing here?
A lot of them are coming from either out of country, i.e. Mexico, and a lot of it is just being shifted. And like I mentioned, previous months or years, there's hubs around the state, around the nation, and one of the hubs is Minneapolis, and there's another hub, St. Cloud, here locally, where, when I say a hub, I mean where they're distributing from. So not necessarily they're making it here, it's coming from Mexico, it's going up the California coast north, and then it's coming back east this direction. But what we're seeing is there's a lot of users in this county, but a lot of, if we're tracking things back, it's tracking back to the hubs of St. Cloud and or Minneapolis locally here.
Thank you.
Anybody else got any questions? Commissioner Blaine.
Sheriff Larson, will we, as a board, see a report on Mudfest next month?
I can bring that forward if the board wants. I can tell you, Commissioner, that I basically pushed out to our entire staff that worked the event. I want to know the pros and cons of all the activity that took place. For the most part, it was pretty calm. I can tell you that we've had a few issues just with ATV accidents, which years prior, the issues were we weren't getting the communication from the security that there was an accident. The communication was good this year. We got that communication. It's just working with security to try and figure out how can we, we know things may happen, but how can we get a better handle on it so we don't have as many incidents? The minor situation, security was good. They turned over a few minors to us. It was nothing of years past where we have like 70-some minors. I think we're under a handful. Again, we had cooler weather. I remember going out to Mudfest. It was that Friday morning, Memorial Weekend, and I think we still had frost that morning. So I think cooler weather probably helped everything, but overall, just being up front, I thought they did for the 7 years I've been sheriff, I felt like the communication between their security and our deputies were kind of right on track, and I think it worked well. So I will have a report, and but for overall, I thought they did a good job.
Thanks, Sheriff.
You bet.
Thank you. Does anybody have anything else? If not, we thank you, Sheriff.
All right, thank you.
Sean, I need to talk to you. Should I call you after the meeting or?
Just come straight up if you want.
Okay. Social service report, Brad.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So we have one report for you this morning, and it's about long-term care and healthcare, our healthcare unit. So Cindy's going to provide you some data on our healthcare applications.
Alrighty, so page 2, slide 1, it shows the applications taken for the month just by the the long-term care unit only. As you can see, they are down a little from previous years, and a lot of that is to do with COVID. There really isn't any other explanation. Long-term care phone calls, those two are down as well. And part of the reason for that is because currently, we can't close anyone on health care unless they've moved or passed away. So clients aren't receiving paperwork where they need to get different verifications in, so they're not calling with those kinds of questions or wondering why their cases are closed and so on. The next slide is just showing you how many clients within our county are on Medicare savings programs. That again is where we pay their Medicare premium for them. So as you could see, total is, almost 800 in the county. Next slide is for supportive housing, formerly known as GRH or housing support. They keep changing the name on us. That is pretty steady as it goes, 201. And those are the facilities like Bratz Board and Lodge, Newest Home Care, and those facilities. The next one is active cases across all programs in the long-term care unit. We do have clients on MSA and GA and of course the SNAP program, but it's just a minor piece of the caseload in long-term care. Again, a lot of those clients are living in different facilities where they're getting the personal needs cash grant of $105 a month. That's the GA piece. Next, I just showed you the county burial expense so far this year. We're at $12,946. With that, I would say we are on pace to be about at the same as last year. Last year, our final was $56,305.
This is one of those areas where we never know how much we might spend, depending upon how many individuals are in need that don't have the resources to pay for their funerals and so.
And sadly, along with that, of course, as I've preached every time with us baby boomers, there's going to be more county burials coming as well as.
Talk like that.
I know, Randy, but it's the truth. Okay, I'm actually on to
Yep,
one
the
more
next one,
slide, Tabitha. Burial funds recovered. So in 2020, through estate recovery and such, we were able to get back $12,405 county dollars. And so far this year, we've collected $3888. The next piece is just some information on the long-term care partner insurance. How this works is if you have long-term care insurance and you end up paying for some of your own care in a facility with that, and you are then let out, back home, and you end up in the facility again, you would be able to protect as many of the assets that you expended when you were in the facility the first time around. So if you paid, the insurance paid $150,000 for you the first time you were in, when you go back in, or if your spouse were to go in, you're able to protect that $150,000 of your own assets plus the $3,000 that is actually the asset limit. So it's a pretty good benefit. There's an example in there if you care to look that over at your leisure. And the rest of these pages are just about the percentages of long-term care, the ages, and how long people will spend in the facilities. And that the senior population currently is 20% in all of the United States. So 20% of our population is over 65. I think that lets you know just how many people are going to be needing care. And page 13 is the home health care costs broken down annually, and it's been a 13% increase since 2008. Women need care generally for 3.7 years and men for 2.5. And that's basically because women live longer than men. And the last piece I have to talk about isn't actually in the slides, but it's to do with like the waivers. Just want to let you know that we are still under multiple waivers. The biggest one currently is like healthcare, as I mentioned earlier. We can't close cases, even if we know they're ineligible due to income. And that's because with COVID, the federal government wanted to be sure everyone had health insurance. So they just put a moratorium, basically, that we can't close the case unless, like I say, death or moved out of state or they requested closure.
As we said, you know, the applications have been down, but our caseload overall is up from last year. So once the waivers are eliminated, and I think they're gonna look at a 90-day ramp down period for healthcare cases just because of the amount of them. So once those waivers end, staff will have a lot of renewals, a lot of information to go over, especially if you talk about the long-term care population and assets and, you know, so.
Mr. Chair, did they tell you when the 90-day ramp down will start?
No, so there are actually a couple of factors playing into this, of course. The state government has not ended their legislative session, so some hinges on that, and some hinges on the federal government and decisions that they're making. So we are in somewhat of a state of limbo. Because some were actually, not necessarily in the healthcare world, but some were legislative required to end June 30th, or when the peacetime emergency ends. But there is still legislative action that would allow more ramp down for some of these programs. So we are in a lot of limbo with most of our programs.
Thank you.
Any questions?
Does anybody have any questions for Cindy?
I covered it all.
You covered it.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks, have a good day.
Thank you. Land Services, welcome, Amy.
Morning.
Morning.
Well, that was good timing.
Good morning.
I'm so used to coming down here by myself that I neglected to tell Jean to come with me. I think I had a schedule.
Sorry.
That's all right. Are you gonna let her talk at all today or not, or?
Well, that's a great question,
Oh, I love it.
Commissioner Jelinski. So, good morning.
Good morning.
We are here to bring the contract for the Vanguard Appraisals Incorporated CamaVision software. We discussed this at the last planning session, but this is the software that will replace the mass appraisal system that we have now. Between the planning session and now, we did further vet the remote edit software. We had talked about that. We were a little on the fence about that. We've opted not to pursue that at the moment, so the total buy for this will be about $18,345 lower than what we had talked about at planning session, and the contracts that have been uploaded in your packet reflect that.
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to approve for further discussion.
Okay, can we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, second by Commissioner Jelinski. Any further discussion? What we had talked about here is we talked about a program that is going out, right? And we're adding a new program. And you do have the money in your budget. You've been budgeting for this, and you have the money to cover this program, correct?
Yep, between the compliancy fund in the recorder's office and then some contributions made to the capital equipment fund, the expense of this software will be covered.
Okay, because we discussed this a long time at
Yes.
planning session,
And we've known that the software that we're utilizing now, the support for that software will be ending here in a couple of years. And so it's really requiring us to jump onto something else.
was that program about 30 years ago? when we-
Yes, we began with that software 30 years ago for land only, and then about 20 years ago, we added the buildings. So, yeah, it's served us well over that time, but it's time to,
And Mr. Chair, you you vetted 5 different companies. This is the company that you came up with, and it's the only one that will work with with the Harris system, or?
It's the only viable option that we have because we're looking only for a CAMA-only system, not bundling it with a tax-only system. So that narrowed, that narrowed that down. And then also this is known to interact very well with our current tax system, yes.
Commissioner
you.
Winther, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. You brought up the $18,000 savings for the software. Can you explain why or we don't need that additional software? And it sounded like maybe in the future we're gonna need that, if you can explain, or have Jean?
I think this would be fantastic for Jean to explain.
So, the software that we've chosen not to go with is a remote edit. So basically what that means is that it's downloaded on a handheld device, and the appraisers would take that from house to house. They would be able to enter their information into the field, from the field directly into the software. And then when they got back into the office, they'd be able to download that. So by doing that, potentially could save time. However, there's a lot of things that we're currently looking at with that system, because what we want is to make it more efficient, and we want to make it a better assessment. We don't know at this point if that particular software will do that for us. So we want to look further in that. Currently, we have our Beacon for our mapping. This company has their own mapping system. It also takes, you need to have, for that mapping system to work, you need to have you need to be able to be online out in the field. We have parts of the county that does not get connection when we're out there, so that makes it really difficult to use that mapping system. So there's some pluses about it, but at this point, we're really not sure how well it would work with us in Morrison County. To spend that $18,000 on something that we're not sure of is not, is not a good choice for us at this time. Could it work? Possible. We're still looking into that. We've got GIS looking into that to see, and also Vanguard is looking to, there's some things that they're looking at putting in place as a company that would help not only us, but others. So it has potential, but at this point, we just don't feel like it's a good enough, it's strong enough for us to purchase.
Well, I think also we do have a remote option now. We are operating remotely because our GIS coordinator has set our appraisers up with the ability to see the field cards, see the map, know where they're at in the field without an internet connection. And some of the concern is we do have quite a nice functionality in the field now. And we want to make sure that that we're not taking a step backwards in what they're relying on that mobile solution for. So we do have a mobile solution now that we're going to continue to use as we vet the Vanguard product further.
Any
Thanks
other
for that
que-
explanation.
Any other questions? If not, we got a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you both very
Amy.
kindly.
We have an extension report.
We will, but if you want to move to Chelsea, she's in that.
There will be an extension report a little bit later. She's not here, so we'll move to auditor's report. Welcome, Chelsea.
Good morning, Chelsea.
Getting there, wait for it. Here, sorry.
That's okay. This morning I have 2 resolutions for you for gambling. The first one is requesting approval for Bethany Lutheran Church of Ramey to hold a bingo on July 11th of this year at the Bethany Lutheran Church of Ramey.
So moved.
A motion by Commissioner Wincher, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Lemire. Is there any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Second resolution I have before you is for the Lincoln Area Business Association to hold a raffle on October 9th of this year at the Scandia Valley Fire Department.
So moved.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And last request I have is to approve warrants.
Could I get a motion to pay the bills?
Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to pay all of the bills.
Got a motion by Commissioner Jelinski, seconded by
Second.
Commissioner Lemire. Any further discussion? Not, this is roll call. Commissioner Lemire?
Aye.
Commissioner Winchell?
Aye.
Commissioner Jelinski?
Aye.
Commissioner Blaine? And aye. Motion carries.
Thank you, that's all I have today.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Thank you, Chelsea.
Okay, why don't we go to administrators report?
All right, Mr. Chair. I don't have an action item for you. After looking further into a topic at hand, we don't need to take action if we were choosing to stay with our current insurance provider. But I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Okay, no, that's okay. I don't want to
No,
continue
no,
if there's
keep going.
something. Okay.
Keep going.
To step back, we have our insurance, our health insurance, our group insurance that we offer to employees coming due for renewal in 2022. And so we, as required by law, and because the company, or because the contract is, ending, we went out to RFP. And so when we have the opportunity to go out to RFP, not only do we look at the situation we're in and look at the renewal that the co-op has, but also independently to make sure we get a good pulse and a good check on the market and see what's best for the organization and best for the employees. And so we did that, and we had some favorable results. We've kind of lucked out some of the years that we've gone out to renewal. The immediate preceding number of months have kind of worked in our favor, and we've had some good claim experience. And so the rates that we got for both independent and to stay with the cooperative were favorable in 2022. There are some opportunities or some components of being with a cooperative that are very attractive. And what we do when we have renewals that come forward, and what we do on an annual basis, is meet with an insurance committee that I very much appreciate vetting these types of decisions through. So they include members from different bargaining units that we have here at the county. They include general staff that aren't members of bargaining units. They help me and the organization keep a good pulse on what's happening out there with the employee groups and what insurance needs are out there, what is being met and what may not be met, and that we need to look at. And so I brought those renewals to them. Logis offered a 3-year rate cap contract, which is nice to be able to plan. We've kind of gotten used to that. The last 2 contracts that we've participated with Logis in had 5-year rate cap guarantee contracts, and that really allows us to be a little bit more planful in our budgeting for insurance costs, along with the county budgeting and then employees budgeting. Independently, we received a 1-year contract with Health Partners. We received a contract proposal from Sourcewell. Both had favorable rates, but neither offered that 3-year component or 3-year rate guarantee. When meeting with that insurance committee, it was decided to recommend staying with Logis, given the reduction in the first year that's presented to us, and then the rate caps moving forward with that. And so I'm certainly comfortable with that recommendation. I think it's served us well when you look at the ups and downs of where claims have been over the last 5 years, and frankly 10 years when we've been with them. Being a member of that cooperative has been beneficial. It certainly has allowed us to be able to be more smooth, so to speak, in our experience and our insurance rates. Given our experience this past year, we do have the luxury of being able to get a reduced rate from the cooperative general rate that was identified because we had good experience. So we're going to move 2 bands to the good. because of that. And then we have the rate caps moving forward in year 2 and 3 of this contract. And so that's what I'm bringing forward to you just as an information. We would need to take action if we were to get out, but lack of action means that we'll continue with that group. And I'd like to communicate with them and let them know that unless you feel otherwise. I appreciate your participation in that insurance committee discussion, so you were able to hear all of these specifics. And I did work with there was one union group who called, and what we need to figure out yet are the specifics of the MOU with those groups that will go to vote for those subsequent years. But outside of that, I don't think there was any consternation of staying with the current vendor or the current contract cooperative group.
Do you want us to give your opinion right now? Is that what you're looking for, or?
Outside, unless you have something else, and if you would want to get out of that would go against
No, I
that
think-
insurance
I
committee
think
recommendation.
Sticking with Logis the way we have it now is the right way to go. It's easier for budgeting. It's a 3-year contract, less peaks and valleys. That'd be my opinion.
Mr. Chair, in the for what it's worth category, this just makes no sense at all to deviate from where we are, my opinion.
Yeah, we've seen all the options that we had, and this looked like there'd be absolutely no reason to change anything, so I guess we're all in agreement to that.
All right, so I will be working on specifics of those MOUs and get that out. I'd like to be able to, when we have those rate cap luxuries, when we can go out a few years, be able to look at that MOU in that time frame. Typically, any increases or decreases, we certainly share with employees, because for insurance, we're in it together. Employees are the ones who use it. County pays for the majority of the costs of it, but employees participate in that. So it's a give and take. And like I said, the insurance committee really is, and our staff in general, are really good about understanding those nuances and really participating in solutions that help benefit the organization as a whole and employees. When it comes to insurance, it's a big component of our recruitment and retention efforts to have a good benefit package that makes sense, and for the county to put dollars where it makes sense to really help recruit and retain staff. And so I appreciate that relationship. I appreciate your support in that. I will move forward with those MOUs, and that you'll see for approval once we get those specifics out to those groups, and I get that moving forward. We need to have this done in the next couple of months so we can get that renewal in place for the fall. So that is that. It's always good, though, to get a pulse on the market. So I appreciate this process to make sure we're in the right place and make sure we're doing the right thing. So it is good to have that check and make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing on that. I did send you guys a message to schedule a budget meeting for next week following planning session. I'm hoping that can work to continue that discussion, which will probably be an ongoing one throughout the summer months and well, for a while now, when it comes to the American Rescue Plan and getting some direction and further vetting that process of what we want to do with those dollars. We are continuing the rollout of the Paycom payroll, and that's going well on the interface. Steve said yesterday worked through IFS, so that's good. As what we expected, there are a few little things that we need to correct moving into that second payroll, but every time it's going to get better and easier and more comfortable with all of that. And we got a lot of rules and we got a lot of specifics throughout the organization when it comes to different groups and different schedules, and so getting all of that hammered out was bound to take time, and it is, but nothing that we didn't expect and can't correct. And so that's been good. We've been learning a lot. So moving forward on that, and other than that, I don't have anything else. If anybody's got anything for me, I know I've been kind of diving into that project to support that. So it's taken much of my time, but I'm transitioning out now, so.
Well, why don't we, you done?
Yep.
Okay, why don't we move to committee reports and schedules? And then we'll come back if extension report, otherwise you have the report kind of in your emails here, so. Commissioner Jelinski, would you mind starting? That saves the rest of us a lot of time.
Sure, why not?
Did you go through them all? Yeah, which dates are we looking for?
We are going from June 27th through July 10th.
Excellent.
Okay.
Starting on the 28th at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I have a State Emergency Communications Board I'm still working with them on their strategic plan. That starts at 1 o'clock, and that's virtual. On the 29th, Tuesday, the 29th, at 8:30 in the morning, we have a planning meeting scheduled here at the Government Center. And after that, I believe, we're going to have a budget meeting, and I just have 10 o'clock written down. It doesn't matter what the time is when our planning meeting is done. On Thursday, July 1st at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a State Emergency Communications Board Legislative Committee meeting. And at 2 o'clock that same afternoon, that FCC strike force, which is going to go on all summer long, continues at 2 o'clock, and I'm on that on Work Group 2. Friday the 2nd, 8:30 in the morning, is TSWAC. On the 6th of July, at 8:30, we have a planning meeting scheduled. At 6 PM, there's a Planning Commission Board of Adjustment meeting scheduled, however, it's been canceled. On the 8th of July at 2 o'clock, I'm back to that FCC Strike Force work group again. On the 9th of July at 10 o'clock in the morning, I have a Central Minnesota Emergency Services Board RAC meeting. As far as I know, that is still virtual. And Mr. Chair, to the best of my knowledge, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Blaine?
On on June 28th at 5:30 in the afternoon, we'll have an extension committee meeting. And other than that, that's all I have.
Do you know where that's going to be?
No, it's gonna be at the Beamer residence in Hillman. It's good.
Thank you.
Okay, and I think I'm all covered. Commissioner Lemire?
June 28th, HRA, 9 o'clock,
In person?
in person. That's it.
Commissioner Wincher?
Looks
Oh,
like,
wait, I got another one. Sorry. Todd County on the
There's
29th, public hearing, 7 o'clock PM. I knew you were gonna ag me. It's in Todd County, but it's, I don't know, some egg building. I'll find out.
Mr. Chair, can I ask, is that an informational meeting yet, or is it the actual
That's, actual,
public? Okay, I was just curious where that process is.
yep. They had the informational one. They didn't have many people there to complain about it, but.
Commissioner Wincher?
and just to follow up on the 28th, the extension, it's gonna be at Kelvin and Tammy Beamer, it's the Farm Family of the Year Award, so the extension will be meeting out there at their place at 5:30. Just, otherwise, I'm caught up, otherwise, with the weekend, long weekend, are we gonna be having a TSWAC and a planning session? I'm sure that's yet to be decided, because we have TSWAC on this Friday, and the planning is on the 6th. I mean, I'm fine, but just a thought.
Blast from the past walking in here caught me off guard. I just texted Steve to ask him about the 2nd, and depending upon agenda items, I don't think we'll have one on the 6th. Typically that week, I know I will be out, I don't know who else will be around that week, so typically not, but I'll let you know 100% for
My
sure.
mind was short, where did we have the T-SWAC? Was that at
Well,
public?
TSWAC will be at TSWAC.
So it'll be at
landfill.
landfill?
Landfill.
Oh, okay, so
If
that's,
we have,
if, right, that's why I forgot where we are.
I'll let you know on both for sure, but I don't anticipate having a meeting on the 6th.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Or is it the 6th that would, yeah, it is, because
6th is the
4th is not,
planning
we're
session.
closed on Monday, but,
The
yeah.
planning commission, as Commissioner Jelinski said, was canceled, and the board
Oh,
of
the
adjustment.
commission was, okay.
Okay, does anybody have anything else?
No, Mr. Chair, I think the extension person is on their way. We aren't able to get a hold of them, so like you mentioned, we'll just, if there's anything to add, I'll have him shoot you a message, or we'll get it to you in email, but otherwise, the report was in the,
cool.
in the board
Motion to
packet.
adjourn, Mr. Chair.
Okay, we got a motion by Commissioner Blaine, seconded by
Second?
Commissioner Jelinski. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
And look what we have here.